Hello and welcome to Conversations. Happy holidays for those of you that have started your holiday already. My name is Nike, and today we're going to be talking about safety, personal safety in the house and in anywhere you might find yourself during this holiday period. I have a full house and I'll leave everyone to introduce themselves as usual.
Okay, hi, my name is Zainab.
I'm Kevin.
My name is Divan.
All right, so safety, which can mean a lot of things for different people. For me, I try to be a safety advocate because I have young children running around in the house. I have baby gates. I don't let my kids in the kitchen as a rule. And when I have people cooking in the house, things like the handles of pots, I always make sure it's turned in. When I walk into someone's house and I see the frying pan handle, I'm like...
Especially the frying pan, because that has the longest of all the handles. I always turn it away from, you know, the edge of the cooker.
Yeah.
So anybody could walk into it and...
Or a small child can
dress,
pull it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so there are little things that we need to be careful about, especially during this period. There'll be a lot more people in your home. Some people charge their phones and leave them. I don't believe in charging a phone and leaving it on something flammable, like a pillow or a rug. I always try to leave it on
a hard surface.
Thank you, tiles or whatever. I've walked into homes and seen like fire hazards just waiting to happen. You know. So those are the little things I always look out for when it comes to personal safety. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll get some views from other people about personal safety, and we'll be right back here in the conversation room. Stay with us.
You probably like to spend a cozy evening at home. If so, here are a few rules to keep in mind, especially in the kitchen. Heat is very important in a kitchen, but can also have calamity consequences. When cooking, use the back burner and a protective guard that prevents children from burning themselves. It is very easy to get distracted by little things like the telephone while in the kitchen. Always turn off the burner before you leave the kitchen. Hot grease to fire can worsen flames. Never try to put off the fire with water. If you add water, it can evaporate explosively. Extinguish the flame by smothering it with a fire blanket. A romantic atmosphere in the bedroom has its own dangers. Even as the passion flares, never lose sight of your safety. Keep all electrical appliances that produce heat far away from combustible materials. Easy combustible liquid should be kept away from sources of heat. Store and use them as directed and observe the relevant icons. Danger lurks in many places, especially around the festive periods. Candles, fireworks, and highly flammable decorations can cause risk. Make sure your Christmas decorations are not close to fire areas, and when it is over, ensure that they are properly and safely disposed. Mind where you keep open burning Christmas candles. Keep them at least 20 cm away from danger. Your New Year fireworks are not for indoors. They are safer and better outside. Install smoke detectors to ensure that a simple distraction does not end in disaster. A stitching time saves 9.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take his pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh, you know.
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. If she wants to ask something, no, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, you know, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I
we have Devan, Kevin Fineface, and Zainab, all giving different experiences of how to stay safe during this holiday period.
Yes, and we had talked about the kitchen, which is, I guess, maybe because of all the sharp objects there, the fires, hot oil and stuff like that. Flammables, obviously, that's one of the, the areas of biggest concern. But I have seen some clueless folks try to, the gas is on and somebody sees a roach, and instead of dealing with it with a broom, they quickly reach for whatever, the insecticide. And are you okay? Are you fine? Is your left cheek paining you?
Yeah, but this happens because of lack of education.
Yeah.
I think so we don't have that enlightenment. When we were growing up, we used to have these safety tips in schools, primary schools. They hardly teach that these days. So, except of course you go to private schools, then you have them try to infuse this safety tips, to the kids. So we need to begin to educate us the more on understanding these flammables are not something you want to keep around the kitchen area. In fact, it's actually wrong to keep your insecticide within your kitchen environment.
At all.
It's what I encourage people to do is to use the powdery type, the type that's just like a powder. So you can use that to drive away the roaches or other form of insects, but not the insecticide, because those things can actually cause any problem. Simple heat from outside can cause that combustion to take place.
Wow,
yeah,
really?
Because, we are in a season where the weather is very hot.
Yeah.
And so you have things that already have some form of combustion inside of it. It's well inflamed and it's cooked. Then you have external heat coming in. Why do gas cylinders explode? It's because of the external heat from outside that it explodes up out there. Okay. So we can see how we can reduce anything that can result to this dangers, the loss of life. I lost a colleague last month who went to cook in the kitchen and ended up being completely consumed from the cylinder. Her phone rang, she picked up the phone, she didn't know there was leakage, and the entire kitchen.
Wait a minute. I've had WhatsApp messages about this thing, how you're not supposed to keep your mobile phone in the kitchen or make calls, and I don't get the link between the mobile phone, either, the gas cylinder and all these things. I don't understand.
My little research found out that not all the phones that react that way. There are some phones that have high radiation. The electromagnetic field on those phones are very high. So the simple spark, they send some form of electron, the gas is leaking, for instance. That automatically makes that place to be charged for fire. Then you have this electromagnetic field that is running in high speed. Because some of these phones don't go through the process of proper quality tests.
Okay.
They just send this thing down because, everybody wants to use a good cheap phone.
Good cheap phone, yes.
So they don't go through those tests. So you have your phone that can do TV, do radio, do all of those things at the same time. And you think you have a good phone. No, sometimes they're actually, life-threatening devices that you're using.
Actually, talking about phones, I've also heard something about not using, now, when NEPA does their stuff, I understand that's not even their name anymore, but everybody knows what I'm saying. NEPA strikes, you want to quickly do something with the gen, you cannot find the regular torch, so you just pick your phone. Yeah. Most phones have a torch. Yeah. They know they're shipping it to Nigeria, so. And then you go and then you do your business and you leave. But I've also heard that phones have no business around generating sets.
Yes, it's because of what he said. There's no quality control. Some of these phones are not supposed to be. But apart from also the ignorance, all of us are expressing surprise here about gas cylinders having expiration dates. We didn't know that before. But there are other key things that everybody knows, but it's our nature to be careless, our nature to not care. Every time you go to fuel your car at the petrol station, you will see a sticker, no phones allowed. How many people have gone there?
Sorry to cut you in, Ajia. I've actually watched the Mythbusters in Discovery Channel, proving that it wasn't true that your phones will explode at the filling station. Now, they did all their tests and they actually proved everybody wrong. But from my little other research, I found out that no, electromagnetic fields actually work. Once the field is so high, most of these phones phones that don't go through quality control tests. They just produce them massively to meet up with the market that is yearning for it. because the big phones, the high-end phones, are very expensive. They could do some form of magic, and these other phones comes in to compete with them, giving those who want to be like these other ones who are using iPhones to want to be part of it. So we have that ignorance, we have that carelessness, but the carelessness is also as a result of gross ignorance. The Nigerian public, the African public, is actually less educated when it comes to things we use within our environment.
True.
We are less educated. I think the agencies responsible for enlightenment, you know, should take this responsibility. Let's say, for instance, National Research Agency, for instance, can look at some of these equipment, some of these things we use every day, do a research with SON, partner with SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria, get the information and educate the Nigerian public what they need to do. My son, you know, yesterday saw me, said that most times people buy things, they don't read manuals.
Of course,
of course. And I said, yes. I said, but why did you say that? Have you seen me doing that? I said, no. He said, I always do read manuals. I buy a drug, I read the manual. I buy anything, even if it's a torchlight, I read the manual. Because there's something that is put in there for you to know. But that's because I exposed myself to this information early before time. How many of us had that opportunity? You buy a thing, you just want to use it straight away. You buy a phone.
I think most of us are guilty of that.
You're asked to use to charge the phone for at least 1 day or 12 hours, but you buy it and you're using it immediately.
Yeah, but as you know, you said, yeah, a lot of people don't have the information. But you see, when you said this Mythbusters, and they proved that it's not true. I'm hearing this for the first time, that it's not true. But still, my argument is, the picture, the sticker is there, do not use your phone. How many people have seen it on Mythbusters that it's not true?
Yeah, it's true. So, you know, it still goes to the point he's making.
So
that
are still, there's this...
It's better to be safe than sorry.
There's this carelessness. And speaking about carelessness, there's a lot of things that people are doing that's careless. I've seen somebody, you were talking about generating sets. She wanted to put fuel in her generator. It was at a hairdressing salon, and there was no light.
Don't tell me she used the candle.
No, it was in the afternoon. She used something worse than a candle, something that could have gotten her arrested maybe in another country. She used her 6-year-old son.
To do what?
As a wedge, because...
As a wedge to do what?
The fuel cover flies off when she's pulling it off, you know. So she needed to put something heavy, a dead weight, to press the fuel cover while she puts... The
cover of the tank.
Yes, of the tank.
So she placed her son there.
So she called him, he was playing by the side, and she called him, and he came happily. He's used to doing that, obviously. And he sat down on it, and she was pulling, and eventually... And I asked her, out of curiosity, me too then, not shock. And I was like, why? She was like, no, it will open. So she needs to put something heavy, and that heavy thing was her son.
Her son?
And she pulled it and pulled it and pulled it, and then it came on. And then the son walked off and went to play. Sometimes that is why we are careless, because nothing bad has happened yet. You know?
It also comes to that information thing. Because see, it's... I'm shocked hearing this from you.
I tried talking to her, they said, allow these white people. Somebody has said that to me on a plane. We were about to take off. She was talking on the phone.
People.
Yeah, I was telling her, they said put off your phones. There's a reason, because I'm dead scared of flying. I was frightened enough, much less I see you sending chat.
We have so much in common.
And you know that person that said, come on. I beg, it's God.
Oh,
it's God. We have that. And that's what that person said to me at the salon. Allow these white people, Jared.
You know, I think I agree with you, because a lot of us from this part of our world, we get so religious minded with everything. We said, now
what
God,
will be, will be.
Now, let's live in it, it's God. I mean, what will happen, will happen. We can't continue to go through that route. I think also in our religious institution, there should be deliberate effort to educate the public, the faithfuls. You know, it's in the mosque, you come up with those people, the professionals, to teach us what we need to know. If it's in the church, we come up. So we know these things. If we learn from these religious houses, it will stick better than we will get to the class to learn. Because everything they teach us in the religious houses, they put God.
And we are so
and there's a threat that if you don't abide to this, so that will really help. So I think it will go a long way if we get to look at that. And we need to also begin to see how we need to educate us and our kids at home. We talked about, you know, placing items in the right direction. Sometimes the way these kids, when they started doing holiday period, they eat so much that they have so much energy, so they want to expend that energy anyhow. They run anyhow. So what are we doing to ensure that those things that can result to bodily harm are taken care of? occupational health and safety is one thing that we don't teach in anywhere. We wait until we are through the school. We go do a course if we are going to get into a related job to go and study occupational health and safety. It's supposed to be done from the nursery, primary to the university.
But still even talking about the home, there's one of the most obvious ones, the pressing iron. I cannot count the number of times people put it on, use it, leave it on, and walk away.
Walk away.
Or the boil, what do we call it, boiling ring? You know, you just drop it in your bucket, you heat your water, and then you take your bath.
Plastic bucket.
Plastic bucket.
Dries up, melts.
Yeah, you know,
if it's close to, and the next thing you have fire.
In fact, I've been a victim of that. Yeah, because back in the day when I used to work morning shift and I was living far away.
Before God came in, I guess. Before God came in.
Which Oga?
Before you got married, that's what he's trying to say.
Oh, yeah, that was quite a while. That was quite a while, yeah. When, I used to have this morning shift, to read the 7 a.m. news, and because I was staying far away, and I'm not really a morning person, so I'd make effort to wake up at 4 a.m. so that by the time I'm reading the news at 7 a.m., the bags under my eyes have at least gone down. I'm looking bright and shiny, and so I'd wake up at 4 a.m. And there I was using the boiling ring to heat water in my plastic buckets when NEPA struck. Okay, now I removed it and placed it on the edge of my bed, which was the wooden frame. Yeah. I placed it there, went and took my bath, got dressed, left and came to work. Totally forgot to either remove it from the socket or put off the switch. I just took it out of the bucket and laid it, on the wooden frame of my bed. Came to work. Closed late. Late being, I stayed in the office till about 7, 8 in the evening. Got home. All my guardian angels must have been on duty that day, because I don't know what happened. The wooden frame caught fire, and the fire was localized. Even the what do you call it, the tiles were plastic tiles. Yeah. But why that fire was localized in only one spot, didn't catch the entire bed frame, didn't catch the mattress, didn't affect the tiles, I will never know.
Wow.
I still have that bed to this day with that burnt out segment there.
Did you come home to meet lights? Maybe they took light again at some point?
No, by the time I came home, there was no light, so maybe that was it.
No, but even so, it could have ignited and the light went off, but it continues burning.
Yeah. God knows. God just knows.
That's why I said, oh, my guardian angels must have been so lucky that day.
There's something about, we are talking about obvious dangers.
Yes.
There are other hidden dangers. There's this show I used to watch, 1,000 Ways to Die. That's where you realize every single thing is a potential. And that's why maybe some people become tired, they become careless, because every single thing, actually, forget the kitchen, that's where most of the obvious dangers are. But there are almost every part of the house, you have dangers, obvious and
even the bathroom.
So many accidents in the bathroom. That's even the next in line. Your bathroom is next in line. We mentioned something about petrol. Something happened to me last year, and I realized, yes, especially in Abuja, where maybe you live next to each other or high rises or something. I'm on the first floor of a story building. That's where my apartment is. And it was Salah period, and I wanted to grill some meat. I actually sent for charcoal from Kano because I couldn't get any here then. And I was going to light it and grill some meat on my back balcony. And God so kind, just 20 minutes before I did that, there's this strange sound and strange smell on the balcony, and I rushed, and then something was pouring from the balcony of the upper apartment.
Okay.
It was petrol.
Woo! Wow.
No way.
Wow.
It was petrol.
Wow. Wow.
What if I had started what I was going to do? And they were fixing their gen. They had no idea I was going to do that. They didn't know this was my plan, because it's not normal in those kind of buildings to even have charcoal cooking. But I was just doing it to grill meat for Salah period.
Wow.
Until date, I have shivers. What if? Yeah. And they were not deliberately pouring the petrol. Their gen was bad, and they called somebody to fix it. So as he was doing something, the pipe cut, and it just spilled, and most of it spilled onto my balcony.
Wow.
So your
guardian angels were
also at work.
So there are some dangers you don't even know are lurking around the corner.
Yes. Yes.
What do you do?
It's funny you should mention petrol because it's the festive period, and we all know that currently
fake fuel
there's
scarcity.
fake fuel, fake.
Yeah, because the federal government has said there's fuel everywhere. It's people hoarding it, you know.
I see queues on my way here.
Yeah,
There's
people are
queues
hoarding
everywhere.
it so that the prices will go up.
You see, so people are actually taking the risk, buying fuel and carrying,
storing
storing
in
fuel
jerry cans,
and using it to travel. You know, and that's it's very risky. It's very, very risky because they're not sure when they get to their destination if they will find fuel to
that's the reason why
so
they
just,
that.
you know, and it's scary.
The weather is so hot. I looked at the Christmas tree. I saw a video of what happened in the family home. They put on the Christmas tree, left it, went to sleep, and then they had a spark. There was a spark from the lights, and the fire got up, burnt everything. There was a CCTV camera that was, you know, seeing this whole thing, and so I think those who put on at night, if you're going to bed, try to put off the lights. Nobody's going to be there to look at it. So the money you can put back the lights back up again. So.
There's another one that is a personal peeve for me. Is people that go to bed with their handsets so close to their heads.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen a lot of...
you know, or people that put
phones
in their bra.
So they won't steal it or something?
Yeah, so they won't steal it, but particularly when you're asleep and putting a phone beside your head or beside your child's head, your child is there and you just leave the phone there. And when you even give your phone to your child to play with for an extended period of time, experts have said that you should put the phone on flight mode. So it's not radiating any waves.
Energy. Okay.
A lot of people don't know this. You know, I'm very particular. If I give my phone to my daughter or my son to play with, I always put it on flight mode, especially if they're going to be holding it for a period of time. Because when they're holding it so close to their chest, they're putting it on their laps. You know, those kind of things. I'm very particular about.
And for those who want to put phones close to there, they should actually try to put it off. Switch off your phones because you can't keep your phone on. The applications in the phones are working, generates heat. Then after a while, the external factor comes in, the phone explodes because the lithium battery won't be able to withstand the heat that goes through it. How many times do we deliberately switch off our phones, you know, to allow the battery to cool off and the RAM in the phones to take care of it?
I rarely do. Let me not sit here and sound like
a business. Somebody, customer might call me.
It's not even about business. I'm guilty, although I don't place it right next on the pillow or the bed. I mean, it's by the bedside table.
It's nearby.
I wake up to go pee, and then the next thing I come back, I'm checking what's happening on Facebook. Okay, what happened in Twitter? You know, and maybe I can't sleep for the next 30 minutes, and I'm doing that.
You're traveling around the world.
You know, sometimes I just wake up and I can't fall back asleep. So the phone is there as a distraction. I don't want to put the TV on and wake yours truly.
Yes,
so I just use my phone instead. Okay, go. So sometimes you might see a post from I'm sorry, at 3:30 a.m. You know, I just woke up and I can't go back to sleep and that kind of thing. So there's that. Obviously, it's dangerous. I've read about it, and I think that's one bad habit I have around the house as far as personal safety is concerned. That really needs to go out the door as we enter 2018. That will definitely be.
Then.
No, I don't want to call it a resolution. I have my thing.
Just kidding.
But it's something that I'll keep in the back of my mind, starting now.
You talked about safety. You know, there's an aspect of safety that we also actually ignore, which is the security of, you know, safety is one aspect. There's also security on the other aspect. The security of life and property also comes as our ability to be able to provide the necessary safety measures, you know, because if you have the right necessary safety measures, let's say lighting, for instance, in the neighborhood, that will help in your security. You know, if you put on the lights, kids will go out or things will happen, or some things will look for a way to want to have a cool area to relax, you know, so we should consider security as much as we're looking at safety, and ensure that we make provision for the things that are necessary for us to do that. This season, good thing, it's unbelievable that we're having these queues coming back. But I think I'm not also surprised, you know, because if you look at it, a lot of people believe that they need to make some money. Now, in this part of our world, we do make money without considering our safety and our security. You talked about those traveling with fuel because they're not sure what's going to happen. In some stage, you cannot see fuel to buy. So the common thing you want to do is to carry something along your trip. But how do we continue with that? So I think in the course of we doing what we're supposed to do, government should also take deliberate, conscious effort to ensure that those things that we conflict with the things we do every day are actually provided. Why do we have to go through this? NSPC explaining what is happening is not good enough, you know, because I can feel it. I've not been able to buy fuel, and I don't want to go to the queues.
You know,
it's a risk. Last time we had this scarcity, some people died in their cars.
Right.
Yes, there's a road safety guy who was in his car. He went very early in the morning to queue up. By 7 o'clock, he was already dead in his car.
Why?
Carbon monoxide?
No, carbon monoxide. I think it could be heart failure.
Wow.
It could be heart failure. Yeah. You know, somewhere in 11, the guy, everybody was honking. Move. The guy was already gone.
Wow.
The stress. So safety measures, we need to begin to check all of that. If you're going to stay on the queues, try as much as possible to, from time to time, get out of your car. If you know your health status, manage it very well. Don't take it to chance. You
know, this thing you said about the authorities at least intervening to try and put in some, to be sure that citizens are doing the right thing to keep themselves safe and so on and so forth. The truth is, you know, most of us, maybe we have this very fatalistic, I think it's a Nigerian thing, I don't know. Even if it just happened in the vehicle behind you, maybe there's that shock value for the first 5 minutes, and after that, it can't happen to me.
Yes, people just think,
you know, I'm coming to our friends, the road safety guys, you know. I remember one day my colleague came to the office and she was incensed. She was so upset. I said, what's the problem? Is it not this nonsense road safety people that said they have started their wahala? But she said, yes. Now, what is it? What didn't you have this time? That's is it a extinguisher? Mine is expired. So, so I said, is it your fire extinguisher? She, can you imagine? They are asking me for first aid kit. That's a new one.
That's a new one.
I'm like, okay, first aid kit. She said, yes. Who has first aid kit in their car? I don't.
Me neither.
Nobody does. So she was like, I'm definite. They just wanted to get money from me. And I told the man that, no, I don't have first aid kit. Nobody has ever asked me this kind of question before. And he said, what if something happens to you? And I told him, back to sender. It can never happen to me, in Jesus' name, you know, and this kind of thing. And I can bet anything she still doesn't have that safety, whatever in her car.
No,
I don't have either.
Herself with back to sender.
Yeah, but you see, these are things. There was a day I sat down and I read all the things you're supposed to have in your car.
Okay.
I don't have a quarter of them. You know, I have all my papers intact. My fire extinguisher, I'm going to change it, guys. Don't start targeting me on the road. I'll buy a new one. But then that's it. Apparently, you're supposed to have, is it a spare battery in the car? You're supposed to have spanners. You're supposed to have
you saw a list. You saw a list.
Yes, I've seen a list.
I want to relate it to what he said earlier on about a lot of people don't even know. So I want to now ask you a question.
Yeah.
You saw a list, so now you know, and you still don't have. Why? It's still back to that.
My car is not about to catch fire.
Can you hear?
How do you know that?
So can you see?
How do you know that?
I am a child of God.
Our position, right? Our position stems from the fact that the Nigerian public, right? We haven't had a conscious deliberate effort to be educated and be responsible. Civic responsibility is not something the government has seen as something that is necessary. If my son knows a few safety tips to do, right? And he's grown with it. Some of the things he gets to know is not something he actually learned in school. I deliberately, I'm doing that because I wanted to be equipped with it. And we were driving, I also use the opportunity to also educate him. Driving is also a class. If we're home, if we're watching any program, it's also a period of education. Are we doing all of that? And I think the government, as a matter of importance, should put that in the curriculum and ensure that proper grades are given for civic responsibility.
Okay.
Because I knew a few things that I'm talking about today because of what I learned in my primary school days.
And you decided to imbibe. Some people learn and they don't care. But you see, if we say safety, you know, these are almost obvious things. But as I said earlier, there are some things that are not obvious, you know, that you don't know are dangerous. Even on your own body, you are wearing a veil with a pin, and then you fall asleep, and it opens. We see small girls everywhere, especially in the festive period, with hair extensions and long hair, and they have these beads. I've seen people wearing beads. That may be okay, but there are some people that actually weave it in between the cornrows on the head.
Yes.
And what happens if an 8-year-old girl is running around on Christmas Day, enjoy and run, and slips and falls on a hard concrete floor, and those beads are there?
Yeah.
You know, somebody has once pointed it, you know,
in fact, you are even going faster. All of these attachments and everything are extremely flammable.
No, they are.
They're very, very flammable. It's plastic.
They're all plastic.
Yeah? So, and I cannot
products.
count the number of times, even me, I've walked into the kitchen with my braids dangling all the way down, not tied back, not knotted, nothing. And I'm doing this on the fire, I'm bending up. Now, if that thing catches fire and it drifts onto your dress or something, I mean, that's it. It's like somebody poured petrol over you and set a match.
There's human skin and
the fat that's there
is also
just
flammable.
And then there's hair, there's small.
There's hair and everything.
It's very flammable. That's why the slightest
Yeah, or you see children, I've seen this one too on TV. It wasn't a pretty sight. This Ribena plastic drink, you know, carton, with the straw, and the children are drinking and they are running around. And one child tripped with the straw in their mouth.
Wow.
So what do you think would happen? These are normal basic things. But it's high time that we learn to pay attention.
Yes.
Remove the straw. Just turn it in a small cup. Your child sit down in one place, drink your drink, and get unplugged. When we are carrying hot water, I've seen people that don't have bathroom heaters, and they will take water in containers and they will be walking.
From kitchen to
My niece got burnt. Yes, my niece got burnt really badly. Really badly. She was walking, running into a room. Somebody was chasing her, kacha. And her cousin was coming out of the room, and there was a curtain. There was a curtain in between. None saw the other.
Oh.
And they collided, and it poured on the curtain, heavy curtain, stuck on. These are things that all the time happen. We see them happen. We commiserate, and tomorrow we do something related to that.
So funny, as a child, just as you said that, I had a flashback of when I was a child, and I was playing with beads, maybe from my hair, or it fell, and I pushed it up my nose.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
It's the time of my mother's life where she panicked and she freaked out. She was taking me to the hospital and now stopped when she saw a relative. And the woman was like, oh, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with her? She has a bead up her nose. She tried everything to try and bring it out. Luckily for my mom, the woman was a nurse and just put her mouth on the other nostril and blew, and that's how the bead came out. It's happened to my son. He was eating groundnuts, even though people say don't give them groundnuts, they shouldn't eat groundnuts, but he actually really likes them. And before we knew what was happening, he had put it into his...
Try to...
Yeah, he put it in his ear.
Oh.
But we got it out just in time. So sometimes even we as parents need to be, when they're drinking Ribena, when they're handling pencils, when they're handling rulers, when they're handling scissors, be watchful, be mindful, because you can never know.
I'm glad she said watchful, not stop them, because you know sometimes when you take it away from them, it becomes more attractive. You know?
That's not want the point. There's such a thing as being too careful. I guess where we're going. I guess where we're going with this, right? I guess where we're going with this. But I grew up climbing trees and falling out of them, by the way. I grew up running in the streets. I grew up rolling around in the floor. I grew up locking myself in cupboards during hide and seek and everything, and I'm still alive.
I know.
You understand? So there are, especially with regard to children, you don't want to wrap them up in cotton wool. Yeah.
I know.
So I still think that it's a fine line. Let's not be so protective that we take the joy out of actually living and enjoying what life is all about.
Good point.
You know,
good point. But at the same time, when we're going to stop our kids from doing the things we think will endanger their lives or cause bodily harm, we should also let them know why. If we don't want them to do a thing, let them know the why. Because if they don't know the why, they will be exploitative.
Yeah. But sometimes the why, it may sound controversial. Let it be a practical why, not don't do this because this will happen to you. Sometimes you watch, you supervise watching and let the thing happen to them small.
A little bit, yeah.
I know I'm a huge advocate of that.
You sound like my mom.
My 19-month-old son is a fan of matches. He loves when I put on the matches and he'll keep trying to drag the matchbox from me. I'll be telling him, ish. That ish didn't work. 2-3 days ago, when I put on the matches like this and I turned on the gas, he quickly leaped up and snatched the matchstick out of my hand. It still had that red. He just, ish.
He will never touch it again.
No way, he didn't. So whenever, but sometimes, you see, that wasn't bad enough to burn him, you know.
No, I understand.
But it made a small, it made a small impact. So sometimes, but speaking about children, there's something also, another thing that sticks with me. As parents, we do some things that actually put our children at high danger without ever knowing. You know, I had a 4-week-old baby then, and I was going somewhere, so I put her on my back like we normally do, you know. I just tied her on my back. It was cold Hamatan, so I put on a hat for her, and it was too big, so I rolled it up. And I put her on my back, and I covered myself with the veil, and I was going halfway across the road. She started fidgeting, but I just thought she didn't want to stay. And she was fidgeting and fidgeting and fidgeting, and I was just rocking her. Then she went quiet after all, and I was like, okay. So luckily, I crossed the road to enter a car. Luckily, as I entered the car, of course, it wasn't comfortable having her on my back anymore. So I removed her. Then I noticed the cap had unrolled and come down and covered her nose completely. Wow. And she was just 4 weeks old. She didn't have control of her head to turn around and breathe with her mouth. So that's what she was. So that time that she went quiet, it's like she has lost the breathing.
She may have gone temporarily unconscious.
Yeah, but it was just maybe like 2-3 seconds later when I unstrapped her.
Wow.
You understand? And until date, I shiver to think, what if I had not...
So being sensitive.
Yes, you know, sometimes when a child cries, you're in the parlor and you're oh, they've started. It could be something.
Talking of which, children crying, if you're in the house with small children and it goes quiet,
that is,
yes.
There is a problem. Somebody is drinking kerosene somewhere. Another person is trying to stick their finger in the socket.
Another person has shot his brother in a cupboard.
It's always a sinister motive. There's a sinister reason behind that silence. So if I'm in the house with small children, it goes quiet. I'm looking for you guys. Where are you?
In the spirit of speaking about safety, can we talk about knockouts and bisco and things like that? Because I have an uncle whose finger was blown up.
I think that thing has been outlawed for a while now.
Yes. But how many I still hear it during Christmas. I don't know.
It has always been outlawed.
I still hear it.
Always recently?
Since I get to know about the bangers and knockout, I know that it was prohibited for you to use these things.
Okay.
But we just find them in the market or at homes. People just sell them.
Especially around this time.
Yeah.
Now, those of us who live in hybrid areas, we might not be seeing those things, but those guys who live in the outskirts of the town, that's part of what they use to make their noise. You know, and the thing is that Standard Organization of Nigeria, this is where they come in. If this thing is prohibited, why do we still allow these things to come in? Customs, this is where they come in.
Because we don't manufacture
it. So there's no synergy among the agencies responsible to ensure for our safety. The police will say, no use, don't use this thing. The police gives this law, don't use this thing. But the businessman has imported, the marketer is selling,
and people are buying.
People are buying. And so don't use it. So I bought, I cannot use it. How do we address that? So why don't you look for ways for Customs, Standard Organization of Nigeria, and every other relevant agency to come to synergize and ensure these things don't come in. You know, if we want to use this bangers, the knockout, or the rockets, some places. Now, for me, I've seen the good side of it. If you live in a neighborhood where crime is prevalent, you can get the rockets. And so when you get to hear something, do something, strike one, and it becomes your weapon.
Yeah, because it sounds like a gunshot.
It sounds like one. And you can also direct at your intruder that's trying to breach your security, and it works.
But if you talk about the customs, let's be sincere, it's really difficult. This is not the only illegal thing coming in. We have arms coming in. And we could not... I am more in line with, you know, everybody loves their money. That's why these people are important, because there's a market. So why don't the government should hit the consumer? Anybody who uses a banger should be punished, should be fined. Nobody wants their money touched. So if for example, there's a fine, maybe if you play with bangers or you fire rockets or something, if they impose a simple fine, let me be sarcastic, of 50,000 naira on you, people will stop buying. The marketers will stop selling. The importers will stop bringing because there's no market for them.
But the bottom line is, how do you even locate the person who threw it?
People in the neighborhood, they all know. In fact, if you are a parent and your child comes in with that, and you know there's a fine or a levy or a punishment, you send them right back out. Will you allow your child come into the house with a grenade?
That's if you know, huh?
Yeah, let me say this. You know, you notice that hard drugs is prohibited. Let's say cannabis, for instance. But you see that people still farm these things. If you're caught with a kilogram of cannabis, you know, it's imprisonment that you're going for, I don't know how many years, but people still patronize these things. I think it's not just a fine thing that will help solve this problem. If we get to it, see, I kept saying this education because, see, a mind that is enlightened and educated will always at all times, even at all times, be able to do the right thing. If we take our time to educate the Nigerian public, show the, not just say, don't shoot bangers, show the dangers. I almost cut off my fingers, you know, trying to show Macho Man when I was small to hold the banger to explode in your arm. Not knowing that was only the wrong place of the banger. And the way I felt the pain, you know, the pain, and my hand was so heavy after that period. The good thing was not one of those bad ones that had this high explosive thing. Because, you know, when we were growing up, we used to, either you step on it to show how macho you are, or you hold on it, you hold on to the banger and it explodes in your arm. There's a place you must hold it, that it explodes in your hand and you don't feel anything. And we kept doing that. So I was doing that because I saw people doing the same thing. Nobody told me anything about it. Until I had the experience of that pain, then it made me to understand, oh, I need to be careful with this thing. So since then, I stopped using it.
But you know, when you said you saw, you were holding it, I was laughing because it's something that you normally see on Tom and Jerry. And that's something a point I wanted to make. Honestly, watching TV sometimes can be dangerous. No, the negative side can be dangerous to our children because they see things in cartoons, small children,
and they act immediately.
And they act it out. They have no idea that it is. Or some of them, as you say, Tom and Jerry, they always explode in their hands, but they always bounce right back to life.
But having said that, Tom and Jerry isn't a children's cartoon. I don't see it as a children's cartoon. I grew up watching it, but I wouldn't let my children watch it now.
You wouldn't? Why? But so many people, see, she's asking you why.
As far as cartoons
sometimes is...
As far as cartoons go right now, it's like one of the tamest versions of cartoons right now. They're all extremely violent, that's the truth. But then some of them now have the kind of content that culturally we are not really comfortable with.
But you see,
Tom and Jerry is still,
but Tom and Jerry is not safe when we are talking about safety. We are,
your children would never watch any cartoon.
Have you heard of the kid who flew out of his parents' window, the 7th floor, put on his Superman, Spider-Man's clothing, and decided to jump out of the window?
I'm a huge fan of sci-fi. You can't abide. It's not possible that Avengers will come out and then I'll sit at home. I must go and watch it in the cinema. Really? Yeah, you understand? And every day I watch these things, I'm like, sweet Jesus, I thank you I'm all grown up before they got this advanced. Because
you would have tried it out.
Ordinary Bruce Lee I was watching that time, was I not jumping out of trees? I thought I was
So she was right.
So yeah,
she was right.
On some level you are right, you understand? But when it comes to adults or maybe even teenagers and so on and so forth, some people know this is wrong, it could do this, and they go ahead and do it.
That is where it seems like I am still arguing about where he said education. You have two people and you educate them. One of them takes your lesson, one doesn't. Because you can take a horse to do right. Some people don't want to. No, some people don't want to.
Assimilative, process differs with people. I'm more like my whole brain is wired analytically. And so if you tell me something, I have to process it. Others will run with it immediately, but I need to process it.
No, but some people don't even want to know.
Some people don't want to know. It's because of the other external factor that is educating them from what you're telling them. The kind of environment we live in, see, people learn things from environments. You call your child to speak to your child. The way you speak to that child, the importance you place on that thing you're telling him determines how he receives it. He goes outside, some other person that he respects or adore hold to very high esteem. Maybe the teacher gives him what you don't give him at home, and the teachers tell him something different from what you have said. He will go with the teacher's advice. So what you're saying internally might not be sitting because somebody is saying something that is more powerful than what you're saying.
You see,
the means of communication matters a lot for people to assimilate.
Let me just come in here. There's been a huge debate, nature versus nurture. Yeah? Are people born bad, or do their circumstances make them bad?
Can I answer
there are instances when you come into a home where, let's say 5 kids. The other 4 are regular kids. They obey the parents. They, you know, they're mainstream, so to speak. But there's this one child who will only do those things he or she has been told not to do. Yeah, but we know them now. If you search your family small, you find that one person who is like that. Very contrary in their ways. They will not. They are the ones who always drop out of school. They're the ones who have been provided with every opportunity to be something of themselves, and they will not be. They're just. And then you begin to wonder, what went wrong with this particular person? Why did this person turn out this way when the others are so well adjusted and they're so okay? So as far as I'm concerned, there's this thing in the human psyche that sometimes even rebels against being told what to do, no matter how gently it is said, no matter how persuasively you go about it, no matter how well you try to coax, and so on and so forth.
Some see it as
they
a
listen
challenge.
to you.
Still,
you know,
especially where safety is occurred. If somebody wants to be
and they get up and go and do what they want to do.
Parental care, parental upbringing. Nobody learned how to go raise kids.
No.
We all are experiential.
It's a trial and error thing.
We're all experiential
parents. On the job.
Now, human beings will all differ with different personalities. The challenge has always been that we try to want to make people to fit in like the stereotype or the mindset we've actually created. You have 4, you have 5, 4 behaves in one particular way, the other one behaves differently. Have we taken our time to study, to understand the personality of this individual, to know how to manage him? That you're trying to feed him with what you feed on others will not really work. As parents, we oftentimes, kind of cage our kids, put them in our own limitations and believe that they should adjust to our limitations. And so when we see the kids behaving in some manner, we say, this one is like it's demon possessed. So for the religious type, we take them to either the alphas or the priest to pray for them. Without getting to see the potential in that child, to see where that child is actually...
To be destructive.
Not destructive.
Because that's the only potential.
No, not destructive.
Okay.
The child might be communicating, trying to revolt of what the child doesn't really understand. And so the only way you can express it is to put those things that will get your attention, because you're not giving the child the right attention the child needs. In child psychological development, is one of the things that you learn to know that you don't relate with your child the way, with every child, the way you...
the same way, because they all have different needs.
They all have different needs, because they might look like you, does not mean that they have to behave like you. The wiring differs. And so that patience is required. The understanding is also required. Taking time to sit, to understand, ask the right question, giving the child what the child needs to help the child to calm down. There are kids that the moment they see cartoons, they behave. And there are some kids, the moment they see cartoons, that's where they get angry.
Yeah, but, but then how do you deal with such a child if we are still talking about safety and security? You have told the child, this is dangerous, or don't drink this, or don't eat this. And
the fact that they ate it on TV and nothing supposedly happened, it's not true.
Or it's dangerous, or it's toxic, or even more importantly, you are allergic to this thing. Don't eat it. But then you have this kind of child that she's talking about.
Recalcitrant.
How do you deal with such? How do you deal with children that their only toys are the electric wirings and the hot water, the knife in the kitchen? I've seen children who take some detergent in water and then pour it on the floor and keep sliding. How do you ensure that?
How do you ensure that? Why don't you create an opportunity for that child to go slide outside? Why don't you get the sliding platform for that child? Because if you don't direct the child to where the child will function effectively, they will continue to be improvising.
Improvise, yes.
Well, that's what we do, kids. We are very, you know, we are very adventurous. We look for ways. When we are grown up, we did all of those things. You know, as parents, we tend to be surprised. We get surprised that this kid, I don't believe this. Some of these things these kids are doing are things we did, even worse.
No, I have a wonderful memory. You know, when my 8-year-old is acting up and everything, and my husband wants to get upset, I'm like, no. When I was his age, I was worse. Just let him. He's okay. He's okay. Just let the poor child be. He'll be okay when he grows up. He needs to express himself.
But there are things you cannot let you.
Yeah, but I see my son,
funny.
buy anything for him, and the next moment it's spoiled. He opens it up or something. So one day, like, what's wrong with you? They remembered me. I want to see what is inside that box.
Yeah.
Boys
you
are
know,
normally
I want to see what is inside that box. So now what I've done now is to be able to give him more opportunity to always open one of those things. Okay. Now, if they don't work anymore, he sees that he's losing because his sister's items are actually good. So the moment he's denied deliberately by his own cause, he learns to now how to protect it. So my phone is bad, I give him to check. This one's not going to check. So he's able to play around this. He has areas to go and channel that adventurous mind. No, not in a destructive manner anymore. So we have to look for a way to channel it. I know it's not easy, but we can actually look for a way to.
Actually.
There's a point I wanted to remember to just call on. You know, there are some things that were not dangerous before. Maybe yesterday this particular thing was not dangerous, but now it has suddenly become dangerous. And you omit to tell some family members, you know, and then it becomes a problem.
Like?
It happened to me sometime in 2016, beginning of the year. I was sleeping at night, it was hot, and I decided to turn on the fan around 3 a.m. And I stood up, I went in the dark. I know where the fan switch is, and I did like this, and it electrocuted me. God, I didn't think I would survive. You know, and you know, sometimes when you get electrocuted, you scream and you almost pass out, and then everybody came running out. Then the person responsible said to me, "Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you. I had removed the regulator. I was fixing something and I forgot to put that
on." My God.
And they were naked, were hanging. A day before, it was safe.
Yeah, we have a rule like that in our home, actually. Whenever you sharpen the knives, you need to announce it to everyone in the house, because you will still be thinking, like,
it's still that
blunt knife, and you just
chop.
So when we sharpen knives in our
I think I would take that.
Yeah, when we sharpen knives in our home, we announce it to everyone that uses the kitchen, that these knives are newly
So it brings us to the point of information, education.
Information, education, communication.
Or as simple as she said, that person could just have used tape to tie it up.
Yeah,
but
just to tie up those ends and everything.
Just didn't think that I wouldn't know.
All right, safety, personal safety in our homes. That's what we've been talking about today in the conversation room. Our social media platforms are up and running. We'd like to hear from you. What kind of things do you do to stay safe, especially during this holiday period? We'll be signing off now. My name is Nike.
Kevin.
I'm Zainab.
My name is Mom, Diva Mom. See you again another time.
Thanks for joining us, and have a wonderful holiday ahead.